So we are going to be building a typewriter effect, just like the one you can see on my screen. So it contains some couple of words in an array, and we're going to see how we can build that on React Native. So make sure you hit the like button and also the subscribe button while you watch the video. I've just initialized a simple React Native project. So that's how we are going to begin. So the first thing I'm going to do is import some couple things that we need over here. So the first thing I'm going to import is animated from React Native reanimated. So with that animated, there are some couple things again we have to import. That is the spring utils and also the interpolate, because of this sleek animation you saw that came from the top to the center, and also the spring utils. Let me just close this down. I also have to import from React Native redash. So the first thing I'm going to import there is with the spring transition and also with the timing transition, because we want to have that cool effect. I did apply an SVG, but let me just leave the SVG part of this. Let's just go straight to the point. So now in the view section, I'm going to now start designing, because we want this to look a little bit nice, just like the one you saw on the preview. So the first thing there is to style it. I'm just gonna give this a border width of 1 so that we can track where we are. I also have to give it a border color of red. Maybe when we are done, we can get rid of that. So in between this, we have to bring another animated view. So I'm just doing this in case you kind of misunderstand how I place things. Like, you can see how the thing comes from the top and stays on the center. So I'm just doing this for you to understand how you can actually place something on the center without having much time. So forgive me for that. Cars just moving around. So I want this to take the absolute feel of the parent container, and I want everything inside there to be on the center as well. I want to align the items to the center. So I'm just going to gradually scroll this up. I have to give this a z index of 1. Then this is where I can pass my SVG. So if you have something like SVG background, you can just pass your SVG background here. So I would have loved to include the SVG background, but I updated my React Native. So something seems not to be working properly. Maybe on my next video, I'm gonna fix that and still show you. So the next thing now I have to do right now is to, at the bottom of that, to bring another animated view. This one is gonna have a style of z index of 2, and it's going to justify everything to the center as well, and also align the items to the center. So in between that, all I just have to do is to bring a text. So we are not going to be making use of the normal React Native text. So let's make use of the animated text. We can style it and give it a z index of 2 as well. Oh no, actually this one does not need a z index because we've done it on the parent. Since it's a text, let's give it a font family of Gilroy bold. So if you don't understand how to use a font, I suggest you watch my Adobe and React Native course that I did previously with that yellow design, something like a coin yellow design that is going to teach you how you can include your fonts and also include the things necessary for your application. I'm just gonna give it a font weight of 900. So sorry for that typo. I'm gonna give it a font size of 40. So I'm gonna give it a text transform of uppercase, because I want everything inside here to be uppercase. Give it a letter spacing of 8. Then in between there, I can now put my text. So let me just put this as typewriter for now. So let's see. So you can see our text kind of look very cool. So if I happen to have the SVG background, it's gonna just contain at the back of the red code itself, or the red line that's surrounding the text. So like I said, something just changed, so I have to look into that to update it. So we are done with the design. The next thing we have to do right now is to start with the proper animation of the text. Or let's just go ahead and handle the animation part of this, then we can move over to the typewriter effects. So there are some couple animation I'm going to create at the top. So I'm going to come here and bring in the constructor, because I want everything to take place immediately the app launches. So this happens to be here, not inside the component in mount. So I'm going to use super to extend. So if you have anything maybe passing from another prop to your app props, then you can use this to grab it. So I'm just going to create a bounce animation value. So I want that to start with 0. I also have to, for the show text itself, we want that whenever the background shows, if we have any background, so just like I said, you can make use of any background here if you have your SVG in order to make this look really nice. So once the background is going to show, then we want the text to show maybe some couple of milliseconds. So I'm going to also define a new animated value of 0. I'm going to create a text animation, or just a text anim for now. So just give it with timing transition. So we're making use of this show text. So this is not real hooks. If we are working with hooks, then you can use .current, but you're working directly with class-based components. So for the bounce itself, we also have to create a bounce anim. So I'm just going to create a bounce anim. But the bounce anim, since it's going to act as a bouncing something, we want to use it with spring transition. This .bounce, and there are some couple configurations for this one. That is why I brought in the spring utils. We are making use of the default config, and also I'm going to set the overshoot clamping to true. We don't want it to clamp together, and also the damping to new animated value. I usually like using my own as default of 20, so that we can have that cool smooth effect. So we have to set a translate value that's going to take it from the up to the center, just like you saw on the beginning of the video. So interpolate not dot bounce, but actually we are going to make use of the bounce anim. So over here we accept an input range, and also we accept an output range. So input range is as it is going from 0 to 1. We definitely want it to come from the top, that is -300 to 0. And also we have to finally set an opacity for the text anim. So I'm just going to name it opacity because I'm going to use that directly, which is going to have an interpolate value of text anim. It's an input range of for this one, we want it to have a little bit of delay, because we want that whenever the background shows, then the text can show. For this one, I want 0.7, 0.9 to 1, and then I can set it to be 0 in all these ones except for the last one, so that once this one happens to almost finish, then we can show the text. So let's go ahead and put our values. But for now, even if we restart our application, it's not going to run, or even if our application opens, it's not going to make use of these animation values. So what we have to do is to come over here. We can now reference to all those animations we defined, then we can set the values to 1, so that whenever our application opens, it's going to use it by default. So that's how we can set those things with class-based components. If we're using hooks, we can use the use code hooks, but we are not using hooks for now. Sometimes hooks are kind of frustrating, especially when you don't really know about it. So I wouldn't say I'm perfect with that, but to be sincere, I don't really know much about hooks. So that's why I prefer using class-based components. So in our animated value now, let's go ahead and use what we just defined. So right here we have this border width and also border height. We want to make use of the translate y value. Let's just use the transform directly. Then it's going to accept an array of objects. Then let's take the translate y. The translate y value is going to use the this.translate y we defined at the top. So formatting that to look more neater. And also we have to bring in for the text. So the text is at the bottom. We have to go down here. Okay. So we have to set the opacity to this dot opacity. So let's refresh. So you can see that cool effect that came from the top to the center and making it look more perfectly. So let's refresh that again. That looks okay. Just like I say, if you have a background, let me just see whether this is gonna work. Let me just add a text for now. But it's gonna look awkward. So you can see the background is going to show first, then the text comes later. So let's get rid of that and just go ahead. So the next thing we are going to do is to create some couple of files. There are two files we are going to create. I think maybe one. Okay. So right now, let's go ahead. At the root project of our app, we have to create a file called Typewriter. So I'm just going to use the ROCC and hit tab to create just a simple class-based component. So I'm going to import text from React Native. Let me close this down. So we are done with the importation in this side. So I'm just going to clear everything you see over here. So for this one, we are going to be making use of the constructor just like we did on the previous one. So I'm just going to call this type for now. So over here in the constructor, we just have to grab the super as well. So we are making use of some couple of props from here. Not that you can use this as props, but for now, let's just do this. Then we have to get the words. We are going to pass words that we need from our props. We also have to get the text. The text is just going to be an empty string for now. We also have to pass the word index. In our array of words, we want to get the first one first. Then we have to get the wait, the couple of wait seconds, but the wait itself, we have to pass the value to make sure that whether you're using a text, passing it as a props, or whether you're using a number, it has to make it to base 10 and also convert that to a number. We also have to set the is deleting to false. So all these things are just the default values. So I'm going to change this to equal sign and format that properly. So right now we have to create a state. So if you don't actually create a state and do this way I'm doing it, it will not really work. But maybe if you have a better idea of how to do it, you can just drop that on my comment box. Then I can just see how you did yours. So we have to create a method called type. So inside this method is going to be handling our type effect and also our type transition. So first thing we have to do is to get the current word index of the word. So the current index is going to start with the word index, but we need the remainder of that word index with the word length. So whenever we do this, we are going to get the index of that current word. So that's how we can get it from our array of words. So we also have to get the full text of the current word. So for us to get the full text of the current word, we have to check whether the word is deleting or is moving forward. So the way we can do that is to check the if this dot is deleting. whether it is true. We're going to set this to true with our set timeout effect. So all you just have to do is to set this dot text to full text. So the full text actually is going to come from our current word, which is going to be our this dot words dot current. So that's how we can get our current word. But over here we are setting into the full text, but we want to get the substring value. So the substring value usually starts from the index you want to get to the index you want to stop. So we want to get, if it's deleting, that means that if this dot deleting is true, that means that we are getting -1 of the last word. So it's going to be this dot txt, because we've set a value dot length -1. So we want to get it to almost the last value, or else all you just want to do is to get the full text dot substring, but to get this one we have to add 1 to it. That means that this is moving forward, not deleting. So we have to get +1. So that's how we can get our text. So for us, this can actually work this way, but let's just go ahead and finish it. But okay, let's just go ahead and finish it before we can see how the thing is going to look. Then the next thing we have to do is to set our state. So our state is the my txt. We have to set it to this dot txt. So that's how we can set the word we are actually getting. So if we run that, if we happen to run this, we only have to get the first word, which means that it is not deleting, which is going to start with 0 with 1. So it's just going, if we are using typewriter, it's just going to be from 0 to t, which says that the t. So the next thing we have to do right now is to check if the word is complete. So for if the word is complete, we have to check whether it's deleting or not, and we also have to check whether the text is equal to the full text. So all we just have to do to check if this is deleting, and also if the txt is exactly equal to the full text. That means that the txt itself is equal to the full text. So all we just have to do is to pause it. First thing is to pause at the end of the word. So we have to reset our type speed to this dot wait, because we want it to have a little bit slow, to be a little bit slow at the end of the word. Then we have to set the delete to true, and then we can now delete. Else, if it's not deleting, if it's not all this right at the top, so I'm just going to type that down. Let me not copy it so that I will not confuse you guys. All you just have to do is to set the text equal to an empty string. So what this actually means that if this deleted and the text is equal to an empty string, we have to reset the deleting to false, so that we can stop deleting whenever we hit at the first word and also an empty string, then move to the next word afresh. So we just have to increment the word index to 1, and we have to set the type speed, because we want it to be a bit faster right now. You have to set it to 500. So that's how we can set that. But one more thing we have to do is to set our initial speed whenever the app opens. So the way we can do that is under this dot state, set state, we have to set a type speed of 300, which is going to check the is deleting. But we want this to be a bit faster as well. So we want that to be 200 over there. So for us to make use of this now, we have to use the set timeout because we want this to run every this.wait or every this.type speed. So we can just simply say this.set timeout. So the timeout accepts two things: the callback, which is the this.type method, and also the type speed. So that's how we can set that. And we want that anytime the component opens, component did mount, can just call the method called this.type. Then over here, we can just return the text directly without all these things over there. So I'm just going to wrap this inside this place. Then I can reference to this.text. So you can see that this kind of looks simple. So I think we are having something that's not really working fine. Or maybe it's from my image. Or let's just import the reanimated fragments. So right here, I can wrap this on a fragment. I think it's better this way, then we can call the text itself. So that's how we can set that up. So let me kind of go through the codes one more. So anytime our app opens, we have to get the correct index of our app, whether it's 1 or 0. So we do that by using the current word index, which is the default one is 0. And also we get the word length, the current word length. So the current this.word is actually coming from, at the top here, you can see that this.words, I think I'm kind of misspelling something over there. It's coming from this.words.length. So it's actually coming from this word length, and we get the current index. So the first one is going to be 0. So from there we can get the first word. So this is an array, by the way. So it's going to get the total length, and then it's going to get the remainder of that total length. So if we have 3, remainder 0 remainder 3, which is going to definitely return 0, making us have access to the first value from the array. Then we have to check whether it's deleting. If it's deleting, we have to -1 from the letter. But if it's not deleting, we have to add 1, which means that we need to grab the next letter from the word. Then we have to set that to this.state. Then over here, you can see the default typing speed is 300. But whenever we are deleting, we want the typing speed to be a bit slower than the initial typing speed, which is 200. That's dividing it. And then we can now grab it with this value. So right here, we have to check if the word is complete. If it's not deleting, that means that if deleting is false. And then we check the current text value that we have set over here is equal to the full text itself. Then we have to have something that is going to take a little bit of time before it's going to start deleting. Then we can now set the deleting to true, which is going to definitely bring back us in this section part of the code. Then it's going to clear that. But anytime it is not deleting, or anytime the text is done deleting and this text is equal to an empty string, then we have to set it to false. Then we move the word index, we increment it with 1 over here. Then we can set the typing speed in order to have it increase a little bit. Then we can call the set timeout to always call this at the initial or at the defined type speed. So that's how we can define that for our typewriter. Right now in our app.js, all we just have to do is to import the typewriter effects. So I'm just going to import that, or let me just import it properly. Typewriter from typewriter. Then we can, I think I just double T over here. I can come down here and can put that over here, typewriter. So even if we happen to call this over here, it's not going to work. It's going to crash because there are some couple things that needs to be gotten from our props. So the first one is the words, and the second one is the weight. So the weight that's actually that's going to trigger whenever our typewriter effect the least or last word. So the way we can bring those things in is to go to our state. In our state, we are going to create a state over here. So the state is going to accept text. So this is just gonna be array of text. So I'm just gonna pass books, skills, subscribe. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and also the like button. So we have to come down to where we call the method or call the component, and we can pass that as a props. So the first one is the weight, and the second one is the weight. For the weight is 3000. Then we can come here and reference our state and call the test. So let's save that and see. I can't find variable typewriter. Can't find variable. Okay, we spelled something wrongly here. So I think right now we should just save that and see. So that looks very, very cool and very, very nice. So you can see the effect of what we just created. So let's go through the code once more. So whenever our app opens, we grab the weight from this props, and also we set an empty string of text and also the word index of 0, and we can get the weight itself. We want that to be passed to make sure that we have the base 10 number. So that's how we can get that. And here we get the first word, set that first word to the full text. That's the first word, that's both skills. That's actually making us to have access to the words array. Then we have to check whether the word is deleting. So whenever the word is deleting, we are just going to be minusing one letter from our whole value. Then else we just have to increment 1. So you can see over here, whenever our app happens to go to the end of the text, which happens to be goes over to the full text, that means that the deleting has stopped, and also the this.text is equals to the full text. Then we have to set this to 3000. That's 3 seconds. That's why you have a little bit of that weight over there. So that's how you can create a typewriter effect with React Native. I'm going to make sure that this code is on GitHub, then you can have access to it. So do make sure you hit the subscribe button and also the like button. Thank you.